a quick power scrap for you. I decided to pull out I was feeling pink this morning, and floral, so I wanted to use my last little bits. I think I can maybe get one more page, maybe two, out of the rest of the PINKFRESH Studio Happy Heart Keep Growing collection. Happy Heart collection. And the pages and it's called Keep Growing, and then the item numbers for the pages that I used. So the stripy paper is number 137222, and the background paper is number 136522. So I'm basically just winging this. This is just a power scrap to just get my mind into. I've been on a bit of a kick of making my own backgrounds lately, and I've kind of neglected some of my paper patterns. I haven't neglected them. I'm trying to hoard them, and it's really bad that I'm doing that because they're so beautiful. I want to use them, but I just want to save them too. We all do that, right? Am I right? So what I'm using here is, quite often I used to use gesso. Okay, white gesso, because it's nice and opaque. It covers beautifully. Preps for watercolor, all that sort of biz. But what I've also worked out that I actually prefer to use is the MARTE Studio acrylic paint. Now it's fully opaque. It's like gesso, but it's not. It's paint, and its opacity is unbelievable. Like it's great. I love it. I get mine from all my MARTE stuff. I either get from the $2 shop or where else? Kaiser Craft sometimes stock this sort of thing. So all I'm doing at the moment is just going around and softening the pattern a little bit. Not a lot. I didn't want to cover it up. I just wanted to sort of haze the edges a little bit. That's all I wanted to do with it. So, and that big white blotch that I've made in the middle was just making room for my photo, so it had a difference between the photo matting and where the photo mat is and the pattern paper. So it's super easy cleanup. It's only water-based acrylic paint. It's not the end of the world, but it's really good paint. If you're in Australia and you want really good high opacity paints, check out the MARTE ones. Honestly, they are fantastic. They really are. And if you turn them over, so when you're looking at the paint, if you turn it over, you'll notice on the back, down the bottom where the barcode is, there's an opacity number. So it's either a full circle, a half circle, something like that. And this particular white paint is a full circle. So what am I doing now? This is where I'm making up my mind what I'm going to do. So I went away and off camera, because my sewing machine is nowhere near where my camera is, and I run some sewing stitches around the border. You can see it when I turn it over easier. You'll see it in the close-ups at the end, but I went with a machine stitched zigzag all the way around the outside, and then I just did two sections of interest. They don't stick out too much, but one's in the top left hand corner of my photo and one's in the bottom right. Basically, that's where I kind of figured if I'm going to create a floral cluster or anything like that, that's where I'll put it. Now, what I decided to do here is I backed my photo already, but then with this same paper, right, I call it paper. It's not paper, it's cardstock. It's thick. So I put it on one way and then I flipped it sideways and stuck it down again and gave it, so it's kind of got a double border. It makes it stand out just that little bit more. And it means that I'm using up my papers and not wasting any of what I've bought of the collection. So now I'm just creating a title. Now I do a couple of things a little bit different with this one. So these are some, I'm going to call them nude letters. They have no paint, no gesso, no ink, no colour. They just look like chipboard. So you can basically make these whatever you want. So I've stuck them onto some wax paper, and I'm coming in with my Distress Oxides. So I come in with my yellow. Now what I notice as I'm going along here, because they're not prepped in any way, shape or form, the ink did kind of, instead of, you know how the Distress Oxides normally sit on top of whatever you're using them on and you can build them up. I noticed that it really absorbed in to these letters. So I had to go over it a couple of times just to get the brightness that I was after. And you can really see it more here with the pink. See how it sort of starts to fade? When I get almost to the end, you can notice that the very first bit has sort of faded. So I just went over it again. It wasn't really a drama. And the second coat stayed relatively bright. So they're the two oxides I used. One was mustard seed and one was picked raspberry. I'd have to say they are probably my favorites. I do have a lady that wants me to make a list of my if I was starting to buy oxides, which ones would I buy? And those two are definitely on my list because I love the bright colours and I love yellow. So I just sprayed over the top of that with my gold mica spray that I make myself. So there's a video in my playlist if you want to see how to make that. Super simple, dirt cheap, and the mica powder sticks perfectly and doesn't come off. So what I'm doing is I'm pulling out, this is a Kmart stamp set. It's just one from Kmart. This is my white pigment ink paint pad. Hang on. Let me say that again. White pigment ink pad. That's what I'm trying to say. Whew, it's early. I need more coffee. Been running around like a chalk with my head cut off this morning. My daughter has a school excursion today and she didn't have the right shirt for it. And it's like, ah, that's okay. So I went over it with the white pigment ink. Then I was halfway through and I realized I really like it, but I wonder, because it's pigment ink, it's sticky and it stays wet longer. So I went and grabbed my Crafter's Choice ultrafine white embossing powder, popped that on top, and then just went through, and it looks awesome. This is just another way to use your thickers. So these thickers are actually called REGUARDS. I did buy them for like $2, and they were in like a clearance section of Spotlight, but it's up to you. I'll be honest with you, I buy thickers. If they're not the right colors, I just paint over them. I paint over them, I ink them, I use embossing powders on them. Make them the way you want them to be. If you've got red thickers and you need them to go on a green or a purple page, use your embossing powders. Use your ink. And, you know, maybe go over it with your paint and then go over it with embossing powder. You know, paint and then clear embossing powder, or use a stamp like I have to create a pattern on top of it. I didn't want once I'd coloured the title, I didn't want it to look half and half, because I do that a fair bit and I do love it. Don't get me wrong. I love doing that. But because these were thickers, I wanted them to be unique to themselves. So that's why I did that. And I absolutely love how they turned out. Now, I still haven't glued down my photo yet, but I did go, you probably saw that while I was waffling. I did put down some of the white paint underneath just to blur it out, not to block it out, just to blur it out. Now, you can see if you look up towards the top of the photo, there where I am now, it's just a little blurry. It's not blocked out. So I absolutely love how these letters turned out. I will zoom into them, and if you want to see a close-up of them, much better close-up, jump over onto my Facebook group. The link is below, and that's where I share a lot of photos of each layout, so you can really see each section, and you can, if you want to duplicate it in any way, obviously maybe with a different stamp, maybe with a different ink, different colored embossing powder, you pick, you go, you run with it, whatever you want to run with it. I don't stress about, the other thing I was going to mention, I don't stress about the fact that they are thickers, and if I put them on my wax paper and I heat them up, that the sticky's not going to be as sticky. I don't worry about that, because I always put wet glue behind my thickers anyway. Because, and these, I actually ran the sewing machine through them. So, and it does go through these without a problem. I was always reluctant to do it because I thought, I'd seen other people on YouTube sew through thickers, and I thought, I'm not sure if I should do that. It might break my needle, it might gum up my machine, like, pick your poison. But what I actually found is it doesn't do any of those things at all. It's really good. So I do run the sewing machine through these. I really loved what I love the most about this page is I just love that background paper. I went back, in case you haven't seen any of my other videos, I actually went and purchased just a few pieces of this collection, because I don't buy all of a collection. I get bored with it 9 times out of 10, and I don't want to be creating videos constantly using the same collection. So to keep things different and busy, not always busy, but different, what I decided to do is I just buy a few pieces of it. Now, watch what I do with the ink here. I really like this effect, and I sort of stumbled across it as I was doing it, and now I'm going to actually do a layout using this technique, but amplify it. What I'm doing is on top of the white acrylic paint, okay, so I've blurred the background. So what I'm trying to do is create, I do have to glue the picture down. I keep forgetting to do that. So let's glue that down, get that right. Okay. So what I wanted to do, see how I've just put a little bit of pink there for the moment. I'm still in my mind thinking, that does not look finished, Karen. That is not you. That is not what you do. I'm going around the edges with some water, and I'm blurring the edges because I went around it with the ink, and I used picked raspberry. I think it was a little bit too bright, so I just sort of wet the edges a little bit. I'm just popping some foam stickers under the corners of those just to give them a little bit of height to match the photo. And I just go around the very, very edges just to blur that. Now what I'm doing is I'm just sort of spotting more of that ink because it's sitting there. I don't want to waste it. So I'm just spotting it on there, and then I go over with my heat tool, dry it off, and then come in again. And the more you do that, it actually creates a really cool effect. Again, I'm going to say, I'll zoom in at the end, but if you want to see still photos, jump onto the Facebook group and have a look there, because I just love this effect. I can't wait to do this on a bigger scale. And it was just a pure accident that I even realized. I'm sure I've done it. It's just different to doing like the packaging technique, or, you know, stamping or embossing, or using a watermark. It's just a different way of creating a pattern with what you've got without creating more supplies in your area, in your collection, I suppose. So here's a close-up. So here's my shameless plug. If you are watching this and you haven't subscribed to my channel, it is free. It costs you nothing. All it does is help the algorithm send my page out, my channel out to other people, so other people can see my channel and maybe they will gain something from it as well. And I will gain from it because I absolutely love speaking to you guys. It is so good. I feel like I'm extending my friends network a little bit. It's fantastic. Even though you're on the other side of the world, you know, I absolutely love doing that. And this is my style. This is what I like to do. So thank you so much for watching. All the links are in the description below. Everything I've used is written below, and I will chat to you again real soon. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye.